Hello everybody, this is Maniac for Bricks, and I'm here today with another Collect-A-Thon video. Last week we talked about LEGO Ninjago trading cards, and I didn't quite go into detail because I thought I would do that with this video. Those cards were used in conjunction with the LEGO Ninjago Spinjitzu game. This was released in 2011 and 2012, as low as $5 to $10, and as much as maybe 20 or 30 depending on the playsets that the Spinjitzu spinners came in. But it was a relatively easier and cheaper way to get some really nice pieces, to get a really easy to play game, and some really nice minifigures. Some of them, like as you see the NRG versions of Zane and Cole in this video, are exclusive to the spinner sets. They're not something you would get in other larger play sets. For ones like Lloyd, this was like a very covetable set when it came out. There was only one set that was already released in 2012, the Epic Dragon Battle, which was really expensive, and then there was this set later on, and it was flying off of shelves because it was only $10 to get one of the most coveted figures of 2012, one of the most important and newest that were introduced in the Ninjago line at the time. It also had some other neat minifigures and some cool pieces. It's definitely one of my favorite ways of getting the flame sword for Kai and also his Kai DX outfit. They also have Cole and Nia, Sensei Wu, of course, Lloyd Garmadon, I want to say Baitar, Lasha. This is Lloyd Garmadon, where I first got him, and later I got him in a regular set, and I forget his name, but I'm not really a fan of him either way. I always see him when popping up in LEGO sets, and it's like, I only need one of those, but apparently I have 3 or 4 of them. And I also got the dummy over here. And the other version of Sensei Wu. Now, when I first started with LEGO Ninjago, one of the first sets that I got, I believe the first set that I got was a Ninja Training Outpost, which had Cole, and it was like a $6 or so set in the US. After that, I got sets that, because I didn't have too much expendable money at the time, I was able to pick up spinner packs like Nia and Sensei Wu. They were actually great choices, and they still stand as some of my favorite of these Spinjitzu sets because of their abilities on the cards that we talked about last week. You can go back to that video if you want to learn more. If you want to learn more as far as the card game itself, because each of these packs had one little pack for instructions and then one little pamphlet for how to play the game, you can check out a link in the description or on the cards up here. Should be right there. There should be an eye for the icon with a playlist that I've customized with some of the official LEGO Ninjago rules for playing some of these Spinjitzu games. And to put it shortly, for this video, you have 2 people that are in an arena, kind of like the one you see here from this 2012 starter pack featuring, I forget his name, and Cole ZX. And you have a couple of accessories like the ones you see down here, kind of mashed up for now. And you'll spin against your opponent. You'll try to knock them off of the spinner. If you do, you win their weapon. First one to win all their weapons wins the match. Now, each of them has a golden weapon, which allows them more abilities based on the cards that you have in your deck. And those cards also have abilities on them, which will either give you an advantage or really take out your opponent at a much faster rate. For example, I remember one of the cards I showed last week, a limited edition version from the back of the book. It was one of the last cards I showed. If you put it into play, you will have like this little fire pit, basically just laying the card in the mat that you're going to play in. And if your opponent touches it at any point, then they win. Then they lose for that match. So it's a really interesting game. It had a lot of strategy to it. Unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of time to actually play with a lot of other people, so I didn't get the full experience. But I was really looking forward to just collecting these and playing with them, even on my own. Even some of the play sets, like you see the Mountain Shrine here, which included Kai DX and some of these other accessories, that allowed you to just play with one spinner. You still had a bunch of cards with it, and you could still hit it against different obstacles and test how well the weapons work with each other. So it was actually a lot of fun for that, and it's still a nice little build. That is still one of my favorite Ninjago sets to this day. It was something that I really wanted back then, and I was happy to get it at the time. Now, did I get all of these when they first came out? Absolutely not. I probably got about half of them when they were first released in stores in 2011 and 2012. Some of the ones that I got at later times through Bricklink and eBay and other sources include this limited edition set with Sensei Wu, the original 2011 version of him. We'll talk more about that in just a bit. Coal Energy and the starter pack with, the ring and the two figures I mentioned earlier, Lloyd Garmadon and Lasha. Those I got at a later time after the sets were released. I do remember having, at some point, I'm not really sure where they are, but I did have some of the other characters from 2012 from the Serpentine, but... And I think maybe like Cruncha and Whiplash from 2011, but for some reason they weren't available for the video. If you want to see more about that, I probably done some reviews earlier on the channel, or probably some hauls where you get to see those on there. So, but I digress. Now, there were a couple of these, as I mentioned before, they were $5 to $10 each at the cheapest, because the $5 packs in 2012 just had the minifigure, a couple accessories, and just a couple pieces. You didn't get the spinner, or you did get cards with it, but you didn't get the spinner, so they kind of worked as a booster pack, an add-on for the rest of the spinners. And in 2012, what they did differently, as according to the bottoms of these, they actually redesigned the spinner entirely, but most notably on the bottom, each of these had 3 holes, and that allowed you to put different accessories on the bottom of there. You can even take off the rounded tile on there and increase the height of your Spinjitzu spinner, but you still have a lot more different weaponry that you can put in there as well. Like, for example, I think there were some chains inside of this pile of pieces and accessories, which, of course, you have to dictate by the cards. You play the card and you can change up what your spinner looks like or how your opponent uses their spinner. There are even ones where you have to make your opponent spin on their head, or you both have to spin on your head. I forget exactly how it works, but it was something pretty interesting. They really had a lot of creativity when it came to these sets, and I was sad to see that they only lasted for 2 years. Personally, I would have loved to play a lot more of this if I was able to play with other people in person, and I still think that these are really nice to pick up. As far as the spinners, they usually go relatively cheap online, even on Bricklink. It's easy to get the spinners by themselves, it's easy to get the cards on their own, and they're still really nice to collect. They have some really nice designs on them, very unique to each other. A lot of these also have their own crowns on them, which have been used in even some of the most recent of Ninjago sets to this day, which I find really nice because they're interesting pieces, and they did have some really cool prints. For example, I like the one that Lloyd has here because it has a combination of all 4 elements, or at the time it was 4 elements, of earth, fire, ice, and lightning. And as far as the crown goes, that's really impressive. There's even ones like Sensei Wu's spinner, which just has all of these wind-looking elements. I'm not really sure exactly what is supposed to be depicted there, but it just has a nice color and a nice, design on it as well. Some of my more favorite packs, I have to say, are some of the OP ones, like Nia, Sensei Wu, and Lloyd Garmadon. Why Nia? Well, she doesn't really have a lot of big abilities and stats in the game, but in the pack, she has 2 golden weapons. I have to emphasize that almost no other spinner set, if any other spinner set, has 2 golden weapons on purpose. So that's actually really interesting. I think it's just a matter of that you use one of the daggers at a time, but I decided to put both of them in her hand, just for kicks. But I find that pretty interesting. Sensei Wu and Lloyd Garmadon already start with better stats. They are better balanced between the 4 elements, and their cards are actually pretty good for advantages. I mentioned before about the limited edition version, which I didn't mention in the last video some of the cards from there. Those were the ones that I said were missing, but I finally reobtained them, so here they are. This includes a lenticular version of Sensei Wu's card, which has been available in other sets, but I don't think the lenticular version is, so that's actually really nice to get. And you also have Force Field, which is a golden weapon card for lightning, and even though the pack itself doesn't have any golden weapons, it still has some nice pieces for good accessories, and you can still play around with those with the rest of your packs over here. This was in 2011, I believe it was $15, like I said before, limited edition. I did have somewhere around here the 3D battle arena, but it's not going to fit on frame. Believe me, this thing is actually much larger. I'd say it's probably like twice as big space-wise for this. And it has all these little points in the ends where you can put your accessories and put the spinners and put some of the cards. So it actually has a really nice welcoming experience for playing the game instead of just on a floor. I also wanted to mention, as far as the limited edition pack, it has some of the nice pieces, like this lightning piece, which is in a trans green color, which I don't see that very often. And even this accessory alone has two nice pieces. It has a lightsaber hilt from Asajj Ventress from Star Wars, and that glow-in-the-dark tentacle piece that's been used for many different themes. I really like the creativity of some of the weapons in here, and it really encourages that you could build a lot more inside of these. Now, I will have to say, there is actually a strategy for what weapons you use. Just because you have a really tall weapon doesn't mean you're always going to win. Sometimes it'll actually drag down the spinner to that side, and I've actually done reviews of some of these spinner sets in the past where I've tested that, and well, that's the result I got. So it's actually pretty interesting as far as all the strategy that goes into the game, all the different pieces, and the different minifigures that you can use from LEGO Ninjago. I would have loved if they did more of these in, you know, the later years. Even if they bring it back now or in a year or two, that would be fantastic, because this is something that I've even talked to little kids that sort of remember the early years of Ninjago. They're only maybe, I want to say, around 5 to 6 years old, and they remember some of the early years of Ninjago, be it through pictures or actually having these pieces, and they really get a kick when they find these spinners and play around with them, even if they aren't playing with the specific game and just playing with different parts. So thank you for watching this video, hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time with more LEGO videos. Let me know in the comments down below, do you have any of these LEGO Ninjago Spinjitzu spinners? And do you have any that I haven't shown on screen? Because there are plenty more that I did not purchase at any point, and I had 2 or 3 that I, for some reason, have misplaced, but I will find them at a later time. We'll see you next time with more videos. And if you want to check out more about Ninjago, you can check out the playlist that's shown right here on the screen, and underneath it you'll get to see a video chosen at random. Well, not too random, because it's based on your interests, something that may be of interest most to you of what I've produced on this channel. Again, we'll see you next time with more videos,